I think what we're going to see in terms of the show is a transfer of a sensibility. There's the things that I'm interested in: comic books, video games, sex, God, comedy, all that sort of stuff is going to be represented on the show. The interview itself, I anticipate the show is going to have a large online presence, like Conan does, and we will, like The Daily Show does, overshoot our interviews and have them available online. We've already been doing that a little bit with remotes. So if we go a place that might not be hilarious, because we want the show to be 22 like kind of fast-paced minutes of comedy, we go someplace that's not exactly funny but is very interesting, which I think the podcast often is, sometimes not so funny but interesting, we might just put that, we will put that online so people can enjoy it that way. But season 2, 4-hour blocks. That's what I want, absolutely. Yes, unless that was your question, in which case we're done. Yeah.
So 2 years ago, you were writing for 2 shows to get canceled, and now you have a 2-story banner of yourself over here. That's got to be a little weird, right?
Yeah, no, I should send that to the networks that canceled those shows. It is weird going from Outsourced and I Hate My Teenage Daughter. Those were two kind of punchline shows. They were given a hard time. Sometimes people ask me what I learned from that experience. What I learned is it takes a room full of geniuses to write a show that no one likes. You know what I mean? Like some of the funniest people I've ever met and worked with were on those TV shows. Unfortunately, they didn't work. But I will say it does feel good to be here at Comic-Con, something I would have wanted to come to anyway, and have an absurd photo of me fucking the sky in the lobby, or whatever you call that area. So it feels good, is the answer. Can we get some more microphones up here? I'm not sure we're getting it. Yes?
Knowing your background as a live performer and as well as your podcast runner, is there anything you've been wanting to do for a while that you didn't really have the opportunity to do until now?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like being the king of some sort of candy factory. When Oren, this is my executive producer, Oren, and this is Nick, my other EP. When we have an idea, like we did Goodwill Batman, which was we put Batman in Goodwill Hunting, and I woke up one morning and thought of that. And back in the day, Oren and I have been working together for about 6 years. If we wanted to do that, it would have been like months and months process. So the answer to your question is now when we have an idea, we can kind of put it through a network, you know what I mean, with a pretty fair budget and get stuff made faster. So it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to make more of the things I'm thinking of and get that volume out there.
And on Goodwill Batman, he came up with the idea on a Wednesday, and the following Wednesday, I think we put it on there, online. And so that quick turnaround is something that we really appreciate. We can think of something, and we have the staff and resources to make it quicker and be a little bit more topical than we're still making Batman Begins sketches. So.
There's a lot funny about it. Yes, sir.
What's the writing process been like thus far?
Right now, we have 4 writers. It's a small staff, and Oren and I are kind of writers as well, so that's 6. The name of the game right now is trying to teach people, as absurd as it sounds, you're trying to teach people how to write for you. Because I'm trying to make the show very, of course, similar to my sensibility, and these people came in from other writing jobs in other worlds, and you're trying to show them, oh, I would say this, or I wouldn't say this, or my Batman wouldn't say this, but my Batman would say that. You know what I mean? So you sound like a lunatic. You start referring to yourself in the third person, like Pete would never say that. That's too disparaging for Pete. So we're trying to teach people the tone. And to speak a little bit about the tone, I think it sounds like some of you are familiar with what we do. We're not boring. We have a little bit of an edge to us, but also at the same time it's very positive. There's a little bit of a happiness and a silliness to it. Like we were just on the floor here at Comic-Con, and I think the natural choice for a comedian is to kind of do nerd humor and be like, look at these idiots, do you have a girlfriend, what do you do, what do your parents think? And like just here today, the vibe of our show is like, this is the greatest. This is like we volunteered to do this. I feel like I know everybody because I see Deadpool. I don't know who it really is, but I'm excited to see Deadpool. And he's excited to see Superman and to do a photo together. And then you have like vaguely erotic women everywhere. It's really we're not forcing it. I am a positive person. We're not going to be saccharine and stupid and false. We're going to be authentic and real and hopefully interesting, but it's going to be in that sort of Conan way, not at anyone's expense. We're not here to tell you how much the world sucks or how shitty things are. Even if you had mixed feelings about Affleck being Batman, we didn't like go after Affleck. We just put Batman in Goodwill Hunting. That's the sort of mentality we have. If you want someone to shit on Affleck, you can watch any other show. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, that's also true. We have like a no lying rule. I don't lie in my stand-up. It's kind of weird. It's a little bit obsessive for me. I don't like saying, unless it's obvious. If it's obvious that I'm lying or just joking, I'll make that clear. But I've never told a story that didn't happen or just fabricated something that would be hilarious. And we're going to bring that. 2 words for the show are authentic and transparent. We want it to be real, and at the beginning when people are watching it, if we are just figuring it out and kind of flailing a little bit, we want you to see that. We want you to feel like you were involved in something that from its inception and have all of that be genuine. So when the writers are writing for me, the strangest answer to your question is they have to learn a lot about me because that's what we're trying to teach them and the audience. Yes?
You're sort of the latest podcaster to make the transition out of television from America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever think about maybe a decade ago before you had the podcasting medium, how do you think you would have made it to this point? Do you ever think about what the road would have been for you?
That's a fantastic question. I think I'd just be selling goldfish in a bag at a carnival, you know what I mean? Like, it's a remarkable thing. What people respond to is intimacy and regularity. And podcasts are just the newest way to become a regular person in someone's life. When you're just a stand-up, you might show up, if you're a success, you might show up on TV 3 times, 4 times, you know what I mean? And that is not someone you can build this parasocial relationship with. It is one-sided, but it's a type of relationship. The reason people love Conan or Fallon or Kimmel, they show up in your life every day. The reason why people love Scott or Maron that you mentioned is because they show up in their lives 2-3 times a week. So if it hadn't been a podcast, and what my advice for comedians or any type of artist is you need to give them, you have to set a standard. This is how much I'm going to be in your life. And just like a romantic relationship, that helps it grow. Between an artist and his fans, you go, I'm going to be in your life Monday and Wednesday for as you mentioned, sometimes 4 hours, talking about weird mushroom trips. But whatever it is, it's intimacy. You get to know the people, and they learn about you, and it's regularity. So to be honest, if it hadn't been the podcast, it would have had to been something like that, like I don't know, door to door or vaudeville. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You've been waiting. Sorry. You're in my blind spot. That's the scoop. I'm blind in my left eye.
You're a culture, but your target audience, people in target like
Yeah. He asked who the target audience is. Certainly a lot of the comic book, video game world, movie world is going to be hopefully fans of our show. But what's weird is I'm not really going for a specific demographic as much as I'm just trying to be myself. There's a great Bill Hicks quote. Bill Hicks says, no one can be you as well as you can be you. So if you're being yourself in whatever you're doing, you'll have supply and demand covered. So if I'm trying to like pander to somebody or try and like go after a certain market. We just did the hip hop awards for BET, and I went out there, and that's not my market. It's just like exciting to be a fish out of water and not really play necessarily to what people might expect. That being said, my interests will be represented, which are things like movies, video games, stuff like that, stuff that you see a little bit. So the target audience is people who are at least a little bit like me, or who are at least interested in looking at this.
We talk a lot about a playhouse environment. He says it all the time. That's what the show's going to be. So it's a very inviting place. I think we all have a similar sensibility. People who like the podcast, people who like Pete's comedy, the Batman stuff.
That's a really good answer. I think the target audience is people who don't want to watch something before they go to bed that's really cynical and ugly. Now, I don't have anything in mind when I say that. We're not raging against a specific machine. I just want a show that you can watch at night that leaves you with some sort of afterglow of, that was funny. I don't feel bad for laughing at it. I feel release. I feel better about myself. I feel better about the world. I know those are lofty claims, like our show will make your life better, but I think good comedy can make you feel better at the end of the day, or at least it should. Oh yeah, I jumped over you. I'll get to you. I'm sorry. We met on the way in. That's you.
First of all, I love the podcast.
Oh, thanks.
And you say it to people all the time, but you are the absolute best. I'm so happy that you get this opportunity.
Oh, thanks, man. That's really nice.
And also in regards to the show, how often will Chelsea be?
We just nailed, I can't really say that, Comic-Con exclusive, Chelsea will be on the show. Chelsea also came with me to pick out outfits for the show, and we filmed that. That was for the pilot, that's something we'll use on the show. For those of you who probably might not know Chelsea, I'm such a friendly person, I'm such like a bubbly and effusive man.
Did we say, sorry, Chelsea Parody?
Yes. Chelsea Parody. But I like some of my friends, I kind of like that salty, sweet thing. So I'll be a sweetheart, and then I like having people on that like to break my balls and roast me and make fun of me. And people seem to enjoy that. So you have this kind of golden retriever of a man, and then you have Chelsea Parody. It's fun. It's got that a different flavor to it. So not only Chelsea, but like Bill Burr, these people that really like giving me a hard time. Pretty much all my friends.
That is the goal of the show. Like, we want funny friends to hang out with us.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's not going to be celebrity driven as much. I'm not supposed to talk about the guests, but I will say that nobody doing the show thus far is promoting anything. So people are coming on because they want to come and hang out, and because we want to tell a specific story, or we just want to bounce off each other. And I think that's going to be another reason why the show stands out. It's not celebrity driven promotional stuff. The monologue isn't going to be set up, punchline pulled from the news, sort of stuff that we've seen before. It's going to be more in line with my stand-up. It's going to be a lot more personal. It's going to be, it could be about anything. I don't care about like a Vermont man found a dead beaver in his garbage disposal, and then I have a one-liner. That's fine, but there's plenty of shows you can watch that do that very well. I would rather do a monologue about how I don't want to be a sad dad, or I don't know. Edible arrangements, or binging on Oreos in my hotel room, which I did last night. You don't give me a minibar and alcohol. Yes. I forgot you. It's HHG. Hip Hop Gamer.
Yeah.
Know the name. Yes, sir.
First of all, congratulations and God bless.
Thanks, man.
Pretty successful. That's crazy. The question I got actually you is, what was your inspiration that made you want to be a comedian in the first place? Because I think those are the moments where God touched you. You're like, hey, look, this is what we're doing. Make you laugh. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what was that? What was the inspiration?
You know what's silly? This is going to be a sentimental answer, but I'm kind of a sentimental guy. First of all, I loved Kick-Ass 2. We saw it together. I don't know what people's problem was. I didn't read the comic. Maybe it betrayed it in some way. It was fine. It was true to the comic.
Absolutely.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And there was a line that Ryan, is it Riot Girl? Hit Girl, sorry. Hit Girl says to Kick-Ass at the end, he says, take pain and make something good. Or take fear and make something good. And I get really worked up when I talk about comedy. I think that's what comedy is often you have situations. I was just doing an interview talking about were you the funny kid growing up, and I wasn't. I think a good comedian was probably bullied a little bit, probably felt doughy and oblong and rhombus shaped and strange and a little bit of an outsider, and then learned the healing quality of comedy. And that's why I really believe in it. I believe that it has a ministering quality, not in a religious way, just in a way that it has made my life better. So that coupled with an over-loving mother and a distant father, and then being teased just enough, and then an obsession with Bill Cosby and Steve Martin and all these guys. Wow. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And then just enough dysfunction and enough ambition, and then you too can be a weird comedian.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yes.
I'm also a fan of your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
And I was wondering, for each of you, what were your favorite late night shows besides? I feel like everybody says Johnny Carson.
Sure.
But I don't know. I didn't even know that. What's his name? He was Playboy. Hugh Hefner had a late night show.
Which one?
Playboy After Dark.
Yeah, and Playboy.
Oh, Hugh Hefner. That's
yeah.
We're not quite that.
Well, it wasn't sexy. It was just like cool.
Well, Nick is kind of our in-house late night expert.
Yeah, I mean, I was reared on it. Like my go-to when I was growing up and of age of getting into comedy was Conan, for sure. But I love all of them now, still. Like Kimmel and Fallon and Conan are all like killing it. Just this week, they all put out something kind of incredible, like the hashtag thing, and Paul McCartney doing something with him, and Kanye on Kimmel, and like, this is an amazing time for late night right now. And that's outside of, like, Warren worked on The Daily Show.
Do you like any historical late nights that, like, I mean, that's pre-90s late night people?
This could be a completely separate panel. I love Jack Parr and what he did. I love his type of interactions with guests, or whether it was John Kennedy or Jonathan Winters. It was mind-blowing. Kind of like what Pete will do with an interview on his podcast. It kind of comes from that type of conversation. Johnny Carson, everyone can talk about for years on end, but he always set the gold standard. You can't say Late Night without Letterman. It's cool to see Arsenio back. I mean, even in the 80s and early 90s. I'm a little older than I look, but not old enough to have watched After Dark, Playboy After Dark. I mean, he was the first guy to put on NWA and Mariah Carey, which is crazy. He was the first person to put Mariah Carey on. She was like a #1 pop hit, but that wasn't happening in Late Night then. So everyone at a certain point did something to sort of break the mold, and we're trying to do it in our own way. I look weird on Late Night, love Late Night, want to do our own show.
I grew up more watching a lot of sketch, a lot of SNL, Monty Python. That sort of influenced my comedic sensibilities, I think, a little bit more than Late Night. It wasn't until like Daily Show that I really started watching something regularly and every night. So I think I bring sort of more of the sketch sensibility to the show, and I direct a lot of, I'm the segment director as well, so I direct all of our Batman sketches as well as all the other sketches that we're going to do on the show. So that's sort of what my influence in operating.
It's not an old person, but it's been an absurd dream come true for me because Conan has always been a hero of mine, and that is the late night show that I watch. Now I try not to watch too much because I know he's watching, so he can tell us if someone else has done it. And I'm trying not to pollute my creativity by watching other people's stuff. Because I really would like our show to be different, but also have some familiarity to it, which I think it will have. But I will watch YouTube clips of you having her talking to
The
celebrities.
one with Lenny Bruce is really great.
I've seen that.
Okay.
I've actually seen that, yeah. It was in the mansion.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
and then
cool.
there's a cool one with like James Brown.
Yeah.
And June Byron.
They all seem really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Which is why it's great. Yeah.
I know you're trying to make your show very distinctive, but have you received any advice from current late night hosts or reached out to any of them about?
They've all been really great.
Yeah.
I mean, Seth Meyers is getting a show. We just sat down and talked about how we were kind of freaking out, which was great. Fallon is supportive and wonderful, and we love his show. Conan is the one that gave me the best advice. Is that he's like, all the work that we do, all the prep that we do, including stuff like this, and all the stuff that the writers do, is to try and turn the show into a playground. So when we tape it, I can just go out and play. So it'll have that light feel. I don't want it to be too polished. I don't want it to be too rote or rehearsed. I'd like it to feel like live comedy and real. So yeah, that's the best advice I got from Conan. Everything else is just him shaking a fist and saying, "I will crush you if you fail." It's kind of crazy. Anybody else? Yes, in the back.
I know you play a lot of the Nolan Are you going to parody anything else that Tim Burton or about the movies?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you might have to come to our panel to see if we tease something that's not directed by Christopher Nolan, but does have Batman in it. Yeah. So yes, I'm interested in all things. The only Batman that doesn't need parodying is Adam West's, but everybody else is fair game.
And we're parodying the X-Men movies now. And
Yeah, we didn't. We specifically went after. When I say went after, I hope everything we parody, you can tell that we're fans of it. You know what I mean? Like, we're not just like Batman's stupid. I love Batman to death. I just did a Marvel interview and I couldn't talk about Batman the whole time. It was so uncomfortable. I had to allude to it. We did comic book guy movies. So we did X-Men as well. And I think we're going to keep going in those worlds. We're going to do some video game stuff as well. So it's going to be exciting.
I think all of our parodies come with a healthy dose of respect for the world we're parodying. I think that's what we try to do with the Batmans and all the other sketches that come from a movie world. Is have fun within the world of the movie. Don't try to break the world. So like, we're in the Nolan universe, but Batman's in it. That's the only thing that changes.
Does someone have the Infinity Gauntlet?
Nice.
Very good. Very well done. No, I'm okay. I can't handle the responsibility.
More crystals, maybe.
Obviously, everybody's wondering, when are you going to force Conan out and take over his show?
Yeah, well, I keep challenging Conan to a topless, oiled-up trident fight, but he won't return my calls. I can't see him slowing down ever, and as a fan of the show, I wouldn't want him to. But as soon as he shows any weakness, I will take him down.
In all honesty, like, there couldn't be a better big brother than the Conan crew. Like, they've just been so cool to us. They've never been able to produce another talk show, late night show, and it's pretty special, the relationship that we have with them.
Yeah, I'm sorry to be so sweet, but it's true. Everybody's been so great, and they've only been supportive. We use a lot of their resources and stuff. We're the same suit size, so when he's done, I just put it on. Similar hair, same height, it's all fine. That's why they hired me. Yes.
In seeing the sneak preview, one of the cool things as a fantasy was that TJ you guys have a
Yeah.
was it important for you to bring that particular relationship to the screen? And if so, do you want to explore that relationship?
Yeah, I love TJ, and TJ's about to be a much bigger star. He's got a bunch of movies coming out. I think he's in Transformers 4. I think that's not a secret. So the fact that one of my best friends is blowing up in the film world while I'm getting this opportunity to do the show is really fun because he's one of the sweetest guys. He's down to do the show. He was actually in the first sketch that we ever shot together. TJ was in it. It was called Haunt. If you want to see a really young TJ and me wearing a wedding ring, you should watch Haunt. So that was a long time ago. But TJ will definitely be a big part of the show, as will some of the other people you know from the podcast. Chelsea, as we mentioned, Kumail, John Mulaney, that sort of stuff. Yep.
What other comic writers or artists or current books might you be reading if you are?
I'm way behind. I'm reading Irredeemable.
Yeah, I lent him Irredeemable.
That's cool.
I take my time. I've read a lot of Batman. I enjoy certain Batmans. I like Frank Miller's Batman. People have been getting kind of shitting on that a little bit because I was interviewing Batmans and I was asking them which Batman they were, and nobody was year one. It was really heartbreaking for me. But yeah, I mean, like growing up, I did like X-Men and X-Force, and you know, I did know Infinity Gauntlet in that world and all that stuff. But currently, it's just Irredeemable. And before that, I started reading Why. He gave me Why the Last Man, and I'm trying to think. There's something else, and it's just on the tip of my brain. But hopefully that stuff, I love that world, and hopefully that'll come across.
Would we see creators possibly on the show?
Yeah, I'd love to get guests that people just don't have. Get Rob Liefeld and talk about the strong lines and faces and small wrists. Yeah, and no feet. Yeah. And a lot of lines. Is he here?
You got to go to Artist Alley.
What's that?
You got to go to Artist Alley at the other end.
Yeah, that's right. I got to go find one.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, in addition to funny friends, it's just we like to go after people who you don't necessarily always see in late night. So we went to see James Harden, the NBA player, and we went to we sent Lauren and Pete to Utah to talk to Olympic hopefuls. It's across the board.
Yeah, we want it to be weird. We're not trying to get, like I said, some big celebrity promoting something, which might be stupid for ratings. I don't really care. I want it to have that feel.
There'll be a time when we'll want, it'll be fun. People will want to come and hang out with us, and we're an open door.
Of course. If Ryan Gosling wants to come on, he can come on. No problem. Yes?
You mentioned the monologue and guests. Are there any other traditional late night elements included in the show?
Yeah, we'll be doing in-studio bits, stuff, that would be like a top 10 list is a classic in-studio bit. We won't be doing that per se, but there will be stuff, me in front of the audience, getting a live response, presenting. Like on the podcast, we do Gamefly games, which is just like a list of fake video games. And for the pilot, we actually had them mocked up, like Grand Theft Auto Canada. The subtitle was "Sure You Can Borrow It," and the cover was just someone throwing someone the keys with a big smile. So we'd like to have things like that, where I love being in front of an audience, and we will have that element as well. But after it's being a half hour, that's all we have time for. You know what I mean? The monologues, sketches, one in studio, and an interview, and then we're out of there, which is going to be great.
Did we already talk about the monologue?
I did, more like my stand-up. Yeah, that's the takeaway. It's not just news stories.
Should the show be a success, would you ever consider making it longer by maybe an hour-long show as a follow-up to Parody?
I think, it's funny, I got the sense that Nick would be open to that, but I was talking to Seth Meyers about how I'm glad my show is half an hour, just because it's already overwhelming. but I also have no idea what I'm talking about and get the feeling that we might be open to that. But it's just like a one step at a time thing. The original Tonight Show is 90 minutes, and I believe it was live. Is that true?
Yep.
So that's my goal. Live, 90 minutes, black and white.
I mean, the thing that's true about our show is that it's a half hour on the air, but so much of what we do is going to be longer cuts online. So
That's right.
it's probably 30 minutes, period.
We're going to use, every part of the Buffalo a little bit. Like every time we do a Batman sketch, so much of it is improvised, and it always breaks my heart that you guys only see 3-4 minutes of it. When I was sweating my balls off in a suit with black eye makeup dripping down, riffing, trying to make him laugh, trying to make Matt, who plays Commissioner Gordon, laugh. And that stuff will have a home now. That's honestly one of the best features of having a show like this. So there'll be the show, and then there'll be the online show. And as we all know, the line between television and internet is just blurring forever. And by the time we've been on, Lord willing, 3-4 years, people will care even less. And so the show might be over, and then we'll see the TV part as being the best of. And then if you like what you saw, you can go online and find it.
Are you guys banking on shows? Is that, or are you doing them like for the 4 days? I mean, how much live and?
We're a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna tape. We start taping the week before we air. We're really close, but we're just trying to shoot and tape as much as we can. And we're trying to do as much now as we can. We're putting things online now that will be on the show, but we want people to get a taste of what we're doing now.
It'll be close to it. It keeps looking like Thanos has a question. Thanos? I say Thanos.
Okay.
How do you know it's Thanos? It's print.
There you go.
You guys are just pinging and ponging. It's these guys.
F. Mary Kill. Seth Meyers, Craig Ferguson, Dan Abrams.
Say it again.
F. Mary Kill.
Oh, fuck, marry, kill. We say fuck on this show.
Seth Meyers, Craig Ferguson, Dan Abrams.
Okay, I'm not embarrassed that I don't know who Dan Abrams is. Well, I'm going to kill Dan Abrams. You're just going to isolate that clip? Dan Abrams, I'm coming for you. Craig Ferguson feels more like a one-night stand. He's all over the place. He won't stand still, so I bet he's good for a toss. And Seth, he's got those soft eyes. I'd marry that man. No problem. Anybody else want to know who I would fuck? I was told this was only going to be fuck or murder questions. Nope. If you guys are satiated, oh my God! This is like when Chappelle and Dane Cook were going for the longest time. Yes.
Was there anything specifically that you wanted to do this season that you couldn't fit in the episode that you had already ordered that you're planning for this season?
Yeah, I'm happy to say that's a wonderful problem that we had. We have a certain sketch budget. It was very generous. TBS has been really wonderful, but we have ideas every day. Oren is,
A genius.
he's a genius. Yeah, he's a wonderful gift in my life, and we can take a 5 a.m. cab ride to the airport without coming up. I'm like hungover and sick. I'm just coming up with ideas, and I'd love that to be reported. I'd love for TBS to get that message, and I think they know. We got ideas. We got a lot of stuff, and this show's ready to go the long run.
We can do one more question, guys.
Warren, what kind of direction beyond the Daily Show does this opportunity give you, creatively, sketch-wise?
It's crazy that Pete and I are doing a sketch show. We started doing sketches together 6 years ago when he came up to me after a stand-up show where I was showing a video and he was doing stand-up, handed me a very funny script for Haunt, as we mentioned before, and we made it. And then through the trajectory of our Batman videos, and then I went off to the Daily Show and he went to LA to work on his shows, we've somehow come full circle back to just making sketches together, which is actually what I like to be doing. I mean, we work well together where he riffs, I cut, and we have a nice balance.
Right.
And it's an opportunity to just play with all these ideas we've had. Literally, I'm looking at notes from the past 6 years. Be like, oh, you remember that one sketch that we came up with when we first met?
I wrote the X-Men sketch I wrote was called Wolverine Gets Fired, and it's 10 years old. I wrote it 10 years ago, and then you just don't have the resources to make it the way that you'd like to make it. So then, here we are.
So it's the opportunity to take all these ideas that both Pete and I have been banking for the past, 10 years of working with comedy, and finally have a place for them. And things that are truly just things that make us laugh without having to run them through an